Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about all the players that you guys need to keep an eye on for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 2 matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. Let's get started. Player number 1, Tom Brady. Now, going back to last week versus the Saints, Tom Brady, I thought, overall had a pretty decent game. Yes, he did have the miscommunication with Mike Evans that led to an interception. Mike Evans thought he was running one route. Tom Brady thought he was running another route. Miscommunication led to an interception. And yes, he did have the pick six, which in my opinion, that one was very much on Tom Brady. It was not a good throw. It was not a good decision. Led to a very easy pick six. But overall, I thought Tom Brady, he had a rushing touchdown. He had two very nice touchdowns, one to O.J. Howard, one to Mike Evans, and his deep ball accuracy looked pretty good overall. He hit Mike Evans on a couple of beautiful deep balls that resulted in pass interference calls on the Saints. He hit Chris Godwin a couple of times. He hit Scotty Miller a couple of times. I liked the accuracy that I saw in Tom Brady's deep ball. He wasn't slinging it down the field by any means, but the velocity and the overall accuracy that he had on those deep balls, the timing, was money. So what I'm looking for in this game versus the Panthers out of Tom Brady is fix those communication errors that you have with your wide receivers, clean up a couple of those bad mistakes that you made in week 1 versus the Saints, and overall just, possibly have angry Tom Brady there, which I live for angry Tom Brady. The Carolina Panthers just scored 30 points against the Raiders in week 1, but they also gave up 34 points in week 1. So this defense is definitely a little bit shaky one game into the season. Tom Brady's probably going to be a little annoyed that he threw a pick six, threw another interception, and overall didn't play as good as he could have in week 1 versus the Saints, which was a very winnable game in my opinion. So Tom's going to be mad about that. He's going to be mad about all of those things. Angry Tom Brady is insane, and the NFL fears an angry Tom Brady. So hopefully we get a Tom Brady in week 2 who cleans up the communication problems, cleans up a couple of those mistakes that he made, mainly, hopefully don't throw a pick six again, man. Please, I beg of you, Tommy boy. And hopefully gets angry and says, you know what? I think I'm just going to destroy the Carolina Panthers defense. That would be absolutely beautiful. So angry Tom Brady is something that I live for. Moving on to player number 2, it is going to be left tackle Donovan Smith. I almost put Alex Kappa on here as well. I didn't. Just long story short on Alex Kappa, he struggled a little bit in week 1 as well, but I want to highlight Donovan Smith. Now, I'm sure you guys saw in my community tab, I pointed out a lot of the times when Donovan Smith was beat bad. Now, I gave him a pretty generous review in my opinion. I saw some people saying that he was getting beat every single play. I saw some people say that he was just absolutely terrible. And no, Donovan Smith obviously did not get beat every single play he was in, but you guys saw it on the community tab for yourselves. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend you go check it out. I watched every single offensive play of week 1 versus the Saints. I focused on Donovan Smith. He was my main focus. I watched him every single play. And one of the things I noticed was he was getting beat by his second and third string defensive end, both in run defense and in pass offense, mainly more in pass offense. I feel like Donovan Smith overall did a pretty okay job at run blocking in week 1, but his pass protection has got to improve. He got beat way too much, especially after the first quarter. Overall, he didn't have a bad first quarter, but towards the halfway point of the second quarter and onward, he just had some really not great plays after that. It was pretty tough to watch at some points. He got beat really bad. He got put on the ground a couple of times. We've got to see improvement in Donovan Smith in week 2. Bruce Arians even came out and said it was one of the worst games he's seen of Donovan Smith. I don't blame him. Just me going back and looking at the film, it didn't look very good from my perspective either. Now, I know I'm an idiot, but the head coach himself is saying, yeah, it wasn't a great game. So we need Donovan Smith to improve, because that was the most I've seen Tom Brady get hit in a long time, be it on the Patriots or wherever, whoever he's been playing against. Tom Brady got hit a ton week 1 versus the Saints. We can't let that happen again. So I'm really hoping that Donovan Smith can improve on his overall technique, get a little bit better at blocking, and show that he can protect Tom Brady. Because if he has another game in week 2 versus the Panthers like he did in week 1, I really don't know what to say at this point. He's going up against another defensive end who doesn't have a ton of experience starting in the NFL, Yetur Gross-Matos. Maybe they'll put Brian Burns on Donovan Smith to give them a little bit of a better chance. I'm not sure. Derek Brown will be there as well, as will K'Wan Short, so it's not a terrible Panthers defensive line, but it's a pretty decent step down when compared to the New Orleans Saints defensive line. So hopefully Donovan Smith can block in this game. The next player I want to talk about, I am cheating a little bit. It is going to be Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. The reason I have both of these guys on here is because in week 1 versus the Carolina Panthers, Josh Jacobs scored 3 touchdowns and had over 100 total yards from scrimmage. I see that week 1 stat line and just overall watching the game in its entirety, and I sit there and think, okay, maybe the game plan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is going to be getting Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette going early, since they are going up against what is basically a very depleted Carolina Panthers front 7. They lost Luke Kuechly. That's huge. That is insanely huge in terms of the overall productivity and efficiency of this Carolina Panthers front 7. They still have Shaq Thompson back there. They brought in Tahir Whitehead. They, drafted Derek Brown with like the 7th overall pick or something like that. He was a top 10 pick, regardless. But, they have some pieces there. K'Wan Short is there. Brian Burns is there. But without Luke Kuechly, that's a huge hit. Luke Kuechly is a Hall of Fame caliber-esque player, and he is no longer on your team. The Buccaneers can take advantage of that with the running back duo of Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. We didn't see Leonard Fournette a ton in week 1, only a few plays here and there sparingly against the Saints. Ronald Jones played a lot, in my opinion. I thought he had a pretty good game. He had, I believe, a little bit over 80 total scrimmage yards, 3.9 yards a carry in the run game. I liked what I saw from Ronald Jones. I think he can do a little bit of a better job as a receiving back, not falling down when he catches the ball. I think he did that once or twice during that pass game versus the Saints, but overall, I was impressed with Ronald Jones. Nothing I saw from week 1 made me think, well, maybe we need to see more of Leonard Fournette and LaShawn McCoy as starting potential running backs. I think Ronald Jones can still be the starting running back for this team, which is why I want to see both Ronald Jones get a ton of playing time and see Leonard Fournette's snaps get increased as well, because I think that power with speed combination between both those guys is going to be a lot, maybe even potentially too much for the Carolina Panthers front 7 to handle. The next players I want to talk about are going to be Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis had a phenomenal week 1, shutting down Michael Thomas. I didn't think it was possible. Carlton Davis did it. That's why I said he was going to be, a lockdown cornerback for this upcoming season. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check one of my more past videos where I basically put my stamp of approval on Carlton Davis for this upcoming season. I'm proud of that one so far up to this point, but I'm looking for continuity with this secondary. Carlton Davis, let's see if he can continue his amazing week 1. Sean Murphy-Bunting had a pretty good week 1 as well. Let's hope that he can continue. A little bit of some clarification from this past game was that Bruce Arians came out and said that long pass to Jared Cook was not Jamel Dean's fault. It was a missed assignment on another player in the secondary. Who is it? I have no idea, but Jamel Dean definitely was not at fault for that Jared Cook pass, according to Bruce Arians. So I'm looking for all 3 of these cornerbacks to try and match the speed that the Carolina Panthers offense has at the wide receiver core. You have Robbie Anderson, you have Curtis Samuel, and you have DJ Moore. That's a lot of speed and a lot of upside in your receiving group, I guess you could say. So I'm looking for all 3 of these guys to try and match that speed. I would imagine the matchups would probably go Robbie Anderson is going to be matched up with Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to be matched up with Curtis Samuel, and DJ Moore is going to be matched up with Carlton Davis. That's how I would predict the matchups going, like that. And overall, I think that they all match up pretty well against each other, and it would add a lot of very good competition throughout the game. So I'm looking for those 3 guys to continue where they left off in week 1 versus the Saints, especially Carlton Davis. He is just an absolute beast in my opinion. But the last couple of guys I want to talk about, guys, are team captains Lavonte David and Devin White. Both finished the game with 11 tackles in very impressive fashion. Both of them were all over the field, getting tackles for loss, bringing pressure on the running backs, forcing, either A, tackles for loss, or B, just flat out no gains or very short gains in the running game. Lavonte David and Devin White were absolutely everywhere. They were even putting pressure on Drew Brees in pass rush a little bit. Lavonte David was. So overall, great start for the two team captains. Let's see that continue. The Buccaneers defense, in my opinion, had a very strong week 1, and now they're playing a much lesser offense in the Carolina Panthers in week 2. Hopefully. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater is still a very good quarterback. They still have Christian McCaffrey. They've got some good pieces on the offensive side of the football, the Carolina Panthers do, but I definitely think that when comparing the two offenses between the Panthers and the Saints have the better offense. So I'm looking for an even better game from guys like Lavonte David and Devin White. Add that continuity, still continue to be all around the field. They have a tall task ahead of them. They're facing Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the entire NFL. He definitely can cause problems for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So it's up to Lavonte David, it's up to Devin White to make sure that they can contain Christian McCaffrey, and I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch those matchups. But guys, let me know what you thought about all these players that I mentioned down in the comments section below. What are some of the players that you guys are going to be keeping an eye out for in this upcoming game versus the Carolina Panthers? Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.